The rain poured in silver sheets over the quiet streets of Redwood County, washing the neon reflections of the diner signs into the puddles. Inside Maggie's diner, the scent of coffee and bacon hung thick in the air. A group of rough-looking bikers, leather vests, tattoos, the unmistakable skull and wings patch of the Hells Angels, sat silently at the corner booth, eating their late-night meal. Most people avoided eye contact with them. Everyone had heard stories. Outlaws, troublemakers, rebels without mercy. But tonight, fate had other plans. The cry outside. A sudden, desperate scream sliced through the hum of conversation. "Please. Somebody help. They won't let my mommy in." Every head in the diner turned. At the door stood a little girl, maybe 7 years old, soaked to the bone, her pink raincoat clinging to her small frame. Her voice shook as tears streaked down her cheeks. "Please, the hospital, they won't let my mommy in." Without a word, the biggest of the bikers, broad-shouldered, gray-bearded, wearing a patched vest that said Reaper, rose from his seat. The others followed like shadows. "Kid," Reaper said, kneeling down, his gravelly voice softening. "Tell me what's going on." The plea. The girl sniffled, trying to catch her breath. My mommy, she's a nurse. The hospital's closed for some event or something. But she was called to help a man in the and the guards, they said no one can go in right now." The biker's brow furrowed. "Where is this hospital?" She pointed down the street, her little hand trembling. "Just there. But she said the man might die. That was all it took." Reaper turned to his brothers. "Let's ride." The thunder of compassion. Engines roared to life, shaking the ground like distant thunder. The girl climbed into the sidecar of Reaper's Harley, holding onto his vest for dear life. The headlights cut through the storm as 7 bikes tore through the rain-soaked streets of Redwood, a convoy of chrome and fury. When they reached the hospital gates, a pair of security guards stood blocking the entrance, arms crossed. A banner above read "Private Donor Gala, Restricted Access." Reaper killed his engine, boots splashing in the puddles as he approached. "Evening," he said calmly. "The little girl says her mom's a nurse. She's got a patient dying inside. You gonna let her in?" "Sir, this is a private event," one guard said nervously, eyes darting to the group of angels behind him. "No one's allowed in without clearance." Reaper's jaw tightened. Wrong answer. The moment of realizations. Before anyone could react, the hospital doors swung open. A man in a tuxedo, clearly one of the event organizers, stepped out. He froze when he saw the bikers lined up, rain dripping off their leather jackets, the engines still rumbling like thunderclouds. "What is this?" he demanded. Reaper gestured toward the girl. "That's what this is. Her mom's trying to save a man's life, and your guards won't let her through." For a tense moment, the man hesitated, then the little girl broke free from Reaper's sidecar and shouted through her tears. "Please. My mommy's all he's got." The crowd inside the glass doors began to whisper. Cameras flashed. One of the donors stepped forward, lowering her umbrella. "Let her in," she said quietly. Now. Within seconds, the mother, a nurse in soaked scrubs, came running through the gate, breathless and shaking. She hugged her daughter tight, tears of relief in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered to Reaper. "Thank you so much." The event organizers stood silent, unsure what to make of the leather-clad men who had just done what no one else dared. The Hells Angels, so often branded as villains, stood quietly as the ambulance lights flickered in the distance. "People think we break laws," Reaper said, lighting a cigarette under the awning. "But sometimes, the only law that matters is the one written right here." He tapped his chest. "Heart." The nurse rushed inside, escorted by one of the guards now too ashamed to meet Reaper's eyes. Minutes later, she reemerged. Her patient, a crash victim, was stable. The little girl ran up to Reaper, clutching a crumpled paper flower. "This is for you," she said shyly. Reaper smiled, a rare crack in his rough exterior. "I'll keep it safe, sweetheart." The quiet departure. The angels didn't wait for praise. They didn't want it. As quickly as they came, they mounted their bikes again, engines growling into the night. The crowd parted to watch them leave, a wave of realization washing over the bystanders. Sometimes, kindness wears a leather jacket. As the rain eased and the night grew still, the nurse stood by the hospital gate, her daughter beside her, both watching the fading tail lights. The girl whispered, "Mommy, were those angels?" Her mother smiled through tears. "Maybe they were, sweetheart. Maybe they were. Weeks later, a small package arrived at Maggie's diner. Inside was a thank you card, a photo of the little girl and her mom, and a hospital pin engraved with the words, "Greater than, for those who protect not with rules, but with hearts." The card simply read, "To the men who reminded the world that kindness still rides." Reaper pinned the card on the diner's corkboard and smiled. "Guess we did all right, boys." The bikes roared again, this time not in defiance, but in honor of a simple truth.